What's going on, Illumineers, and welcome back to the madness. Today's video, as you can see, is about Vegas DLC. It's a recap of how it went for me. I'm going to give my overall thoughts of going to a DLC, my things I wish I could have done better, my matches, how I'm going to use the DLC, and how I've been using it to get better myself, and overall, if I recommend it. So lots of things to highlight in this video. The spoils of war, a lot of friends that I ran into. But let's start off with how did I do? Well, or actually, Lorcana history. So real quick, I started playing on June 21st. Really important to keep in mind for me going into the DLC because I'd only been playing for what 3.5-ish months, July, August, September. So less than 3 months, I think, if math is mathing, So, but besides that, I've never done any big TCG tournaments or anything. I played Hearthstone off and on for about 3 or 4 years, I think. I'd play for a couple months, then leave and play again. Um, but as far as Lorcana goes, I went to my very first set champs at Zone Collectibles, and uh, I was doing pretty good, and then I took a forced loss in one of my matchups against a red purple deck because I was super nervous and everything. I played an aerial. I set my hand down where I normally put my ink, and I picked up my ink pile. It got intermixed, and so we did a forced loss per the judge, which I felt was deserved. And then after that, I just didn't really recover mentally, and I kind of just went home after that. Or into my next match, I just kind of conceded and went home for the day. I kind of beat myself up and beat myself in that tournament. So after that, I went to Portals in Easton and took second at my second set champs, running a steel song, running really heavy on Pride Lands. Then my third set champs, which was the biggest one I went to at Born to Game in Dover, I took first, which was pretty great because I beat a guy that had he was like 4 hours from home. So that was pretty good to beat one of the set champs scalpers or whatever you want to call them. And then in my fourth set champs at Portals in Salisbury, I took top four, losing in Top Cut against a red blue. And you will see my disdain for red blue as we go in this video. And then I went to Vegas. So at Vegas, I ended up placing 541st. And these were my matchups throughout the day. Going into Vegas, I didn't really know what to expect, to be completely honest. One of my biggest goals was to get at least one 2-0, and I did. I did get my 2-0, so I was very happy about that. So my next goal after that was to try and get 30 points because 30 points got you 20 tickets, and I did end up getting my 30 points. I got 33, and that placed me in 541st with no buys or trades or anything like that. My first matchup of the day was a little rough. I was pretty flustered, as you can imagine. I went 1-1 into a green yellow hyper aggro, running Emerald Chromacons, and instead of like slowing down and thinking, I kind of tried to challenge the board, but she was just playing too fast and not bouncing with Chromacon. So I just I beat myself in that matchup pretty good. I actually lost on the play and won on the draw. And that's kind of how the weekend goes. I need to figure out why I keep doing that. But I think I clicked pin. But the next one was 1-1 against Red Blue. Uh, Realistically, I should have gone 1-1 against all Red Blues throughout the day, I think. But this is one. And when I talk later on about things to improve, I need to improve my attitude going into certain matchups. And Red Blue is one of them. So went 1-1 here. 2-0 here. I don't remember what it was. I tried to go back and check my notes, but I didn't write down that opponent, just the end scores. So I have absolutely no idea what that 2-0 was. But then we went 0-2 back to back against red blue players. One of these I was pretty irritated about. He top decked four big Sizus back to back to back to back, and that hurt a lot because he already had ice blocks down. Um, but on all four of these, I was one turn away from getting the game. I was at 18 or 19 lore on one of them. I was at 17. So I was at 17. I believe two I was at 19 and one I was at 18. So that was fun. Good old red blue. Then we went red purple, and this at this point I believe I was out of being able. I think I had to make 2-0 the rest of my games throughout the day to try and make to get a let it go. So I was pretty whatever at this point because so again, kind of like my first set champs, kind of selling myself short. But going into this matchup, she had had a rough match the match before where her opponent had kind of cheated her out of some lore through a misunderstanding. And so when she was playing castles, I kept reminding her to draw and off of castles, and kept helping her with how the ready set play stuff or ready set draw stuff works and all of that. Because at the end, we were all just trying to get. I think at this point, a lot of us were just trying to get our 30 points, and that kind of streaming um, attitude or locals attitude took over of like let's see how many people we can help get to that point. And so I helped her out, and those draws off of the castles really helped. But I wasn't able to run into her, but I do know she at least made 20 points for 14 tickets. So, but yeah, that's one thing I'll mention later on. It's all fun and games, right? And you kind of have to pick your battles. Do you want to help out your opponents and hurt yourself for the community? Kind of that thing. Like where do you sit? Um, but the next matchup was a 2-0 against Hyper Aggro. Nothing special. Just did Steel Song and a Hyper Aggro stuff, and then 2-0 into a Steel Song. This was pretty cool because this is a gentleman that had watched all my videos so far. So that was a pretty fun match. And then during that match, someone had walked by and also had recognized me through my videos and said hi. And then 1-1 against a Blurple for my last match of the day. We decided to play it out just to see if we could up our overall score. He ended up being super teched out against 4 Steel Song, running a bunch of elephants and bells and just some nasty Steel Song tech cards. And then this was on Saturday, the day of the event in the morning. That's Angel. I travel everywhere with her when I go anywhere, and the wife keeps Stitch. So this is the list I ran. Should look really familiar. It's pretty much DeCandio's list, except I threw in 2 Chin-Pos. I wish I hadn't run this, but we'll talk about that later. Um, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But I wish I hadn't run it. That's really all I have to say about it. I think it's a good list. I just wish I hadn't run it. But let's move on. So, what did I learn? How can I learn more? Real quick though, this gentleman here, I believe his name was Tyler. Um, he was the first person to recognize me. He was actually in the registration line, so that was pretty cool. I was talking to a friend, and he turned around and he's like, "Hey, are you Meyer Madness?" And I think I almost fainted. Like I was just I was just so amazed that anyone recognized me. So it was pretty surreal at that point. But um, as far as the words on here, it's School of Hard Knocks, okay? First things first, practice, practice, practice. All right. There's the idea that practice makes perfect, okay? Um, when you're going to an event like this, you've invested a bunch of money, invest the time into it as well. And invest the time into the deck you're going to play. I've been streaming a whole bunch. I've been playing a whole bunch of different decks, a whole bunch of different builds, and I was not in a good place with any of them. So what ended up that leading to is on this kind of goes with don't be wishy-washy is going into Saturday, I chose the deck I was going to run that morning. So that it was I was stuck between Blurple and Steel Song, but what variation of Steel Song was I going to run? So I hadn't gotten good practice into really any Steel Song variants or Blurple, and that paid the piper for that. So practice with what you're going to play. Go in confident with your deck choice, okay? That way you're not spending the day questioning or thinking regrets like, oh, I should have played something different, so on and so forth. Luck is part of it, but it's far from everything. Get over it, all right? You're playing a TCG, and this is as much for me as for anyone else because this is what I can learn. You're playing a TCG, okay? Luck is a major part of it. What are you going to top deck? How'd your shuffle go? How's your opponent's top decks? Did you Did you like if I would have just gone into hyper aggro all day, then or red purple all day, then I would have been okay. But instead, I got um some some red blue matchups, three, where a lot of people dodged red blue all day long, and so luck plays a part of it. But when you're someone like Zach Bivens or Zan or the gentleman who's now gotten I think he's gotten a Mickey at two of the events, and he's gotten a continental invite to Europe and or to both regions. Uh, there's something to be said about luck is only part of it, and I think it's a small percentage of it. There was a broadcaster one time that said that luck only matters when you've set yourself up to utilize the luck. So that means that the top decks only matter if you've played the cards the correct way to make the top deck matter. Okay? Luck is part of it. Get over it. If you feel like you got unlucky, cry me a river, okay? And again, this is as much for me as it is for anyone else because I come from fitness. That's my background. That's my wife and I's background. We're both competitive athletes and successful competitive athletes. And luck isn't a big part of fitness. And I kept thinking that all day long and telling people that. And I was only hurting myself by doing it. Get over it. If I don't like the luck, then I need to quit playing TCGs. That's just that it is what it is, okay? The other part is check your attitude and don't be a baby, okay? Check your attitude. And again, this is as much for me as for anyone else. I kept getting paired into red blues. I was getting irritated with myself about it. And so I just kept kind of beating myself up about it. So just check your attitude. If your game's over, if you have 5 or 10 minutes, get up off of your seat, walk outside, walk around, grab a drink, whatever it may be. Okay, check your attitude because if you have a negative attitude, you're going to play worse. It doesn't matter. Okay, you're only going to you're going to hyper fixate on the luck part aspect of it. You're going to hyper fixate on all the negative things. So check your attitude, get over it. Don't be a baby. And the biggest thing is pay attention, okay? Not everyone is an honest player. We saw that. We saw that a lot at Vegas. Chris Coy got disqualified. He blessed us with his apology letter of playing I'm the victim. But regardless of that, there was another gentleman in top 64 that got disqualified for cheating. Not everyone is an honest player, and those are just the people that are caught. Okay, I'm really guilty of this. I'm taking in all the sites. I'm watching the other games because they're enjoyable. And so, for example, against Red Blue, I don't care to pay attention to what they're doing because I just find it boring. And so I'm watching other games. Who knows? They could have played 9 ink, and I would have never noticed because I just didn't care to pay attention. Pay attention to your game, okay? Not everyone's an honest player. Maybe you need to pay attention so you can really see what they're inking because maybe they ink really fast, you don't see it, now you don't know, and that's a huge piece of the strategy. So pay attention to your game. Are they struggling to make a move? Are they struggling to ink? Maybe they don't have any inkables. Whatever it may be. If you don't pay attention to your game, they're going to possibly cheat. You're going to miss lines, all of these things. Pay attention to your game. All right. That is important. So, the next piece of it, before we get into spoils and my overall thoughts, is I ran into so many people that recognized me. Like it was crazy, and not even just the people that recognized me, but meeting other people was just abs. It was the best part of the whole DLC. Like a lot of these people had seen my videos or they watched my live stream. Over here, this is my very first opponent. Optical illusion. He's no tall individual. My very first opponent, though. This was on Friday at one of the competitive constructed events. But my first opponent ever at a DLC. This was Kindle. He signed my wife's Bruni, which was probably the best part of the whole weekend for me, getting that signed for her. And we'll look at that in a little bit. But over here we got Chris, and I met his girlfriend from Canada. And these two gentlemen, this was on the last day. He recognized me. He was sitting down. He's like, "Hey, are you Meyer Madness?" And then we just kind of sat down and talked for a while. And then these two gentlemen, or this gentleman, he was there with two of his friends, they had just gotten a Cinderella playmat, so I'd asked if I could take a picture of it to send my wife, and then he had actually recognized me from my videos. Um, and if we go on, we got, it's funny, I realized this as I was getting ready for this video. We got Loitering and his wife. I've never actually asked what his real name is, but it's or his wife's name. Um, but these guys are longtime supporters of my stream as well. So running into them was amazing. And then Ray, um, and then this was the gentleman that I played. That was the Steel Song Mirror that recognized me. That was super surreal, an amazing experience. And then down here, just the broad like where they're playing the events, and I handed out these cards. It said happy and healthy, and it's my Twitch and YouTube. And then on the other side, some of my viewers on Twitch had suggested maybe I sign some cards and hand them out. So I handed them out together. They were in like penny sleeves. And to a bunch of people. People had asked for them. People actually threw them in their decks and were playing with them. It's so I have all these to kind of highlight. And this was only a handful. The one A lot of people recognized me as we were walking through or as we were walking by as I was playing games. Like I ran into about 50 people that recognized me from Twitch and YouTube, and that was mind-boggling. And then come to find out, there's a bunch of people that were there that they were like, "Hey, I wish you would have said you were going to be here. Like I would have loved to have seen you or meet you or things like that." And so the overall, um, there was another picture that I forgot, but the overall thing about these pictures is it wasn't just the people that recognized me, but I ran into a ton of amazing people cosplaying, meeting the creators, things like that, that just made the event so amazing. And that was one of the coolest things was ultimately most people, especially on Sunday. Sunday was the best day in my opinion because people weren't stressing about the event anymore. They were just chilling, having a good time. And then Saturday afternoon, when we got to the tables where we knew we weren't going to get let it goes, it was a really chill as well because we were all just playing at that point to get points and just playing to have fun and meet people, and it was really amazing. So just some of the pictures that I had, but let's talk really quick. Spoils of war. All right. So we'll move this up here. So first and foremost is I got to meet Ryan Miller and Shane Hartley. Shane Hartley is like the director of Lorcana. Ryan Miller is one of the co-creators of Lorcana. So I had them sign my champion Ursula playmat. This would have been the third DLC I did. So that was pretty awesome. And then on here we got our very first spoil of war. We got Kristoff. So that was the participation trophy. So pretty happy with that. We got my Ursula Sea Witch Queen. This was the first Ursula I won. I decided to get it signed by Shane Hartley and Ryan Miller. So that is pretty cool. I'm really happy about this, and I just think it's kind of fun. I think it's a cool thing to play with when I can, or just throw it in the binder. And then we have two Flotsam and Jetsams. One of them Shane Hartley gave to me and signed. This one, the broadcasters were handing them out, and Rebecca gave me one and she signed it. I would have liked to have gotten one signed by every broadcaster, but they're busy people. So this was pretty neat to get those. Over here, the Dragonfire, I think just another participation trophy. I think we got it after the third round of the DLC. So happy to see that. And then this is almost my favorite. We've got the four Rapunzels from the DLC. But this top one is signed by Ryan Miller, which I was really happy about. I won two of them with tickets, and then the other two that I did buy, I had pulled an enchanted scar doing pack rush while I was there, so I traded that in, and then traded in some of my Rapunzels and other stuff, so I could leave with a playset, and I was pretty happy. I'm really, really happy that I ended up going the Rapunzel route instead of the Cinderella mat. I was kind of stuck on whether I wanted to do one or the other, but this was definitely my happy place. So big shout out to the people that told me that this was the better move as well, including my wife. So the last piece, and I kind of mentioned it earlier. It was my favorite thing to get the whole weekend. It was the Bruni signed by Kendall Hale. I wasn't able to get a slot to meet Kendall Hale, but he was kind enough. I saw him. He's just kind of standing alone, and he came over and signed this for my wife. And he put Kendall to Molly, put a little crown on Bruni. So this is the number one thing I wanted out of the whole event, and I was happy that I was able to get it signed. So yeah, that was pretty great. But yeah, so those are the spoils, the spoils of war. All right, this is what we got out of the event, as far as cards. So finally, what are my overall thoughts of the DLC? Oh, this is supposed to be playing. There we go. And well, I kind of have this. I recorded this and thought we'd do a little walkthrough of the venue. My overall thoughts. I thought some people complained that the seats weren't great. I thought the seats were perfectly fine. I had no complaints with those. The venue was very big. It was good temperature. They had free water throughout the whole day. There was plenty of room for everybody. There was plenty of parking. I thought it was a great venue for sure. Now, besides that, the event, I really enjoyed it. At the same time, I won't fly to another. And I have nothing against flying. It ultimately has to do with how I spend my time. Like I spent 10 hours flying, and I wanted to get there on Friday, so then I spent 3 days at the event, 3 days at the event. Um, and ultimately, it was just a metric ton of Lorcana, and I really enjoy Lorcana. I really enjoy it, but I was not prepared for how much Lorcana it was. Like when I woke up on Sunday and sat down for my first game, it was such a long match because I almost just didn't want to be there. Like my eyes hurt, like or Saturday night my eyes hurt. Sunday morning I was just like, God, more Lorcana. And it got better as the day went on. But it was a lot of Lorcana, a lot of sitting around, kind of, yeah, just a lot of sitting around. It was just a lot. So if it's in my backyard again, I will do it. I will go to it because hopefully I can see the wife. I can go home, see the wife. Um, and things like that. What can I say? My wife's my best friend, and I do deploy soon. So any days that I'm away from her, are days closer to deployment as well. But ultimately, I recommend if you've never been to one to find a way to get to one. It was a great experience, and you don't know if you enjoy an event like this if you go or not. Um, I will go again if it's in my backyard. I probably will not go again unless my viewers just really want me to, if I have to fly a long ways to do it. But ultimately, I did enjoy the event. I enjoyed the atmosphere. I enjoyed the people. I I didn't get a picture with him, but an amazing human being, photographer for the Raiders, let me stay at his place, which was awesome. Gave me a ride, but overall, the event was good. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot on what I need to do to get better, like practice lines and practice against people, practice with a specific deck instead of just playing like a whole bunch of different variations and a whole bunch of different decks and things like that. So make your way to a DLC, guys. That's my final piece of advice. Just going into it, know that it's not your locals, okay? It's very different than your locals. It's There's going to be competitive people. There's going to be people calling judges, which don't be afraid to call a judge or anything like that. And just ultimately go there and um, I don't know. As much as it sounds like pot calling the kettle black or whatever it may be, whatever phrase fits, go there to have fun. Don't go there to win, sure, but go there and remember that ultimately you're just trying to have fun playing a trading card game and enjoy the area. Maybe this was in Vegas. I didn't go and do anything in Vegas because my wife's never been and I wanted to do that together with her. But go and have fun, enjoy yourself, and use it as a way, an experience to get better as well. And if you get cool spoils of war, then awesome. If you don't, you probably met really cool people. Okay, so with that being said, everyone, I hope you have a great weekend. I hope your set champs go really well. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. We're going to have some more guides coming up, some more recaps, some live streams of set champs coming. But let's sign off. Remember, everyone, we're being happy and healthy, okay? Whether you're working on mental or physical health or both, if you're working on them, happiness will follow. It's a promise, it's a guarantee, it's a way of life. Your brain, your heart, everything will thank you. So happy and healthy, Illumineers. I'm out. Till next time.